What's up, tribe? Thank you for being here and welcome to my channel. Today's post is titled Sense and Nonsense. And as this is a dialogue between Matthias and his higher self, I'd be referring to Matthias as me and to his higher self as I am. Me. For 2 days, I have felt a strange emptiness, like without strength, listless, as if nothing he was doing made sense. Even so, I know it has it. The monotony dulls the intensity of the facts, of the purpose, stripping it of content. I am the natural loss of meaning. Do you know why it happens? Me, I do not. I am. Where does the word meaning come from? Me, the word feelings comes to me, which comes from the senses, the 5 senses: touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing. I am, exactly. The 5 senses of your body are the biological tools by which the brain captures the information that surrounds it through electrical pulses, signals that it receives through the nerves that branch throughout your body, especially in the nerve endings of the senses. This is how feelings are born, due to the sensations that your brain perceives from the outside world. Me. So the senses give meaning to what I perceive of the world. I am, and they determine what you project on it. Everything you touch in the world is registered in your brain as the boundaries of the external world. Everything you hear gives you balance to recognize where you are. Everything you see helps you perceive the depth and therefore the directions in which you can move in the middle. Taste allows you to determine what is good and what is bad of everything you consume from the outside world. And smell allows you to put yourself before risky situations or attract you to positive circumstances, as it captures the smells of other humans and animals, or positive or harmful gases from the environment, which improves intuition. All of this generates an image of the world around you, generates a pre-established design, a map of reality. And memory is in charge of guiding you through the corridors of the labyrinth of reality. Me, the senses give meaning to my life. They delimit my paths, where I go, where I move. It is a mental map, like a video game with an established design that can be perfected as my senses perceive new things, but only add walls or corridors and rooms to this enormous framework of memories. I am this great mental map designed by the perceptions of the external world is what we call the meaning of life. In Latin languages, sentido comes from sense, which precisely means perception, feeling. In the Saxon languages, we are based on the Indo-European men, which means to think, Latin origin of the word mind, which has given the origin to English, mean, mentalize, and hence meaning, sense. Thus, for both linguistic origins. Meaning is a perception built by the mind so that it receives and builds from feeling. Me. So what would it be to make sense of things? I am. Giving meaning to something means placing it where it belongs, within the pre-existent mind map. Locate the logic you have in relation to all the ideas and feelings pre-established by the mind map. When something makes sense, it is usually felt in emotion, as if it fits within personal parameters designed after millennia of genetic inheritance and personal experience in this life as an individual. So whatever I give meaning to, it will not actually have meaning for itself, but will only have meaning because my mind feels it. Hence the truths are subjective. Me. So looking for the meaning of life is a personal, individual, and not a collective search. I am. There is no single meaning for life. Me. My friend explained a biology joke to me. What's the meaning of life? 5 cousin to 3 cousin. It's very specific, but it's because the construction of DNA and RNA is given by carbon structures based on carbon 5 nucleotides connected to a phosphate group and carbon 3 connected to a hydroxyl group. And it is in that order and sense direction in which enzymes assemble DNA strands. In other words, the path of life, the direction that biology takes to generate all the information about where we are. I am. Meaning is precisely that, a direction. The 5 senses configure an assembly, a mapping of reality that allows us to find the right path. This is how the structures of everything that exists are organized, ideas we have of the world around us. Me. And what happens when we lose consciousness? I am. Nonsense is precisely getting lost on the map, not knowing the direction, losing track of things, not having a point of reference. This brings us to the question I asked you. Do you know why it happens? Me. Because I am. Because you have expanded your mind. You have seen beyond what you were used to seeing. You have gone off the map. You have flown over it, and you no longer have reference on which to base yourself. The 5 senses tirelessly search for a way to give a direction, to find the way in the labyrinth of the mind. But they cannot find anything like it, nothing known. It is a new terrain on which you have built from scratch. The inability to perceive previous paths, pre-established structures, mean that the brain does not receive the same nervous signals and does not know where to place the new ones. Therefore, it feels empty. There's no reference. And the sensation is of floating, of not having somewhere to cling, no access, leading the whole body to feel insecure, which puts the brain into a state of lethargy, a little hibernation until he can recover, build some wall, some path to build on, and that feeling is often mistaken for emptiness and depression. In reality, you are rebuilding a new meaning. Me. So losing the sense, the nonsense, is not the opposite of finding the meaning, but it is exactly what shows me that I have found it, and my mind is adapting to it. I am. Exactly. Nonsense is the symptom of the process of discovering a new meaning. You also know this as extension. You also know this. I can't get through this. You also know this as existential crisis. The first time that meaning is lost and the world is interpreted as nonsense is when you leave the cultural parameters and you have a spiritual awakening. It does not have to be related to something extrasensory. It may simply be to have left the box and see that it made no sense to live an 8-hour a day work system to take a 15-day vacation in the summer. At first, it looks like depression. And then you start trying to fulfill your dreams. And you have a new awakening, recognizing that what you were looking for outside was inside. And a new depression comes, in which it seems that everything I did until now made no sense. Actually, you are resignifying it on another level of consciousness. And then you realize that you are multidimensional and your own personality loses its meaning. You are no longer anyone because you are many more until you see multidimensionality as part of a whole that is not separate, and existence itself loses meaning. Every time you lose your sense of things, you are building a new one. Making sense of a reality is nothing more than the comfort of the mind, finding a new comfort zone in which to move with ease. The leap towards transformation occurs when I jump into the abyss, where I lose security, where there are no longer paths or indicators, where meaning is lost. Well, none of the 5 senses can help me map my context. The 5 must stop comparing with the previous to begin to perceive and design a new one. So, me. That is to say that in a way, the universe does not make sense, but is composed of all possible senses. I am. What you said makes sense because it is nonsense. Me. I understand. Making sense of things is nothing more than a way to move forward, to find ground, to generate a purpose, a direction for life. But life changes, adapts, expands, and when we do the same, our mind loses the previous path, loses this sense to build a new one. Thus, I will never be able to find the true meaning of things, since meaning is only created from perceptions, not from realities. I am, therefore, dare to live the nonsense, to be able to really understand the meaning of things. Do not be afraid to lose consciousness, to feel that small step of the loss of it, because that is the moment in which you are really giving meaning to your existence. Me. I allow myself then to make sense of the nonsense, and thus treat the eternal destinies of my mind, designing the purposes of my life.